For decades, the Russian military was defined by its pride, the inheritor of the Soviet war machine, a modern, technologically superior fighting force built on vast, seemingly limitless resources. President Vladimir Putin leveraged this image of invincibility, from the massive naval fleets to the hypersonic missile systems, to project power across the globe. This was the crown jewel of his political legacy. But in the last year, that pride has been systematically, often violently, stripped away. Ukraine has not just defended its territory, it has found the seams in Russia's armor and begun to exploit them with staggering efficiency. This isn't about minor tactical gains. This is about the fundamental, strategic destruction of Russia's most cherished military assets. Today, we detail the complete unraveling of Putin's military prestige. From forcing the retreat of the Black Sea Fleet to turning Russia's most advanced air defense systems into scrap metal, this is how Ukraine has shattered the myth of Russian military might and decisively hit back hard. The Black Sea was supposed to be a Russian lake. The Black Sea Fleet, BSF, headquartered in Sevastopol, was a symbol of Russian dominance, intended to blockade Ukraine, launch missile strikes, and facilitate amphibious assaults. Today, the Black Sea is a strategic graveyard for Russian warships, and the BSF is a fleet in permanent retreat. Ukraine, a nation with virtually no traditional navy, has achieved a feat considered impossible by military analysts. It has neutralized a major naval power. The secret weapon? Maritime drones. These low-cost, domestically produced uncrewed vessels have turned the entire theater of operations into a high-risk zone for Russian vessels. Attacks have been relentless and devastating. We've seen the sinking of large landing ships, vital for logistics, the complete destruction of a Kilo-class submarine, and the high-profile strike that obliterated the BSF headquarters in Sevastopol, removing top command and control. Most critically, the loss of the flagship, the missile cruiser Moskva, was not just a military blow, but a massive symbolic humiliation. The consequences are clear. The Black Sea Fleet has been forced to relocate many of its most valuable assets, including key missile-launching vessels, from the western Black Sea and Crimea's main bases to the far less effective, more protected ports in Novorossiysk hundreds of kilometers away. This operational retreat means the naval blockade is broken. Ukraine can now ship grain and goods out of Odessa, bypassing Russia's intimidation. Amphibious threat is gone. The prospect of a major Russian landing operation on Ukraine's coast has been rendered impossible. Missile range. Ships launching Caliber cruise missiles from Novorossiysk have less operational time and reduced firing range over Ukrainian territory. The pride of Russia's naval power, once a projected symbol of global reach, has been reduced to a damaged, sheltering force, terrified of a Ukrainian navy that consists primarily of remote-controlled explosives. If naval supremacy was the first pillar of Putin's military pride to fall, the second is air defense. Russia's sophisticated, multi-layered air defense systems, specifically the S-400 Triumph, were sold globally as the best protection money could buy, supposedly impervious to anything but the most advanced Western stealth fighters. Ukraine is shattering that myth, one launch rail at a time, using Western-supplied missiles and a brilliant combination of decoys and reconnaissance. The goal is no longer just to strike the front lines, but to blind Russia completely. Attacks in Crimea and occupied territories have focused on high-value command centers, radar facilities, and the S-400 batteries themselves. The result is the creation of massive air defense gaps over critical areas. These gaps are not accidental. They are the result of deliberate, surgical strikes executed using missiles like ATACMS and Storm Shadow. This deep strike campaign has had three profound strategic effects. Opening the Crimean door. The most intense attacks have focused on neutralizing Russia's air protection across the Crimean Peninsula. This allows Ukraine's aircraft and long-range missiles to operate with greater impunity, constantly threatening the Kerch Bridge, the vital artery of Russian logistics, and the remaining naval bases. Exposing Russian territory. In a truly humiliating development, Ukraine is now able to hit military and industrial targets deep inside Russia itself. This capability, enabled by the degradation of air defense near the border, shows that the war is no longer contained to occupied Ukraine. The image of the motherland being untouchable, a key element of Putin's domestic pride, is gone, endangering the Air Force. By destroying ground-based air defenses, Ukraine makes it far more dangerous for Russian fighter jets to operate near the front lines, giving Ukraine's limited air force and its long-range artillery a critical edge in the battle for localized air superiority. The S-400, once a global marketing tool for Russian military technology, is now seen by potential buyers as flawed. Ukraine has provided the ultimate proof of concept. It can be destroyed and easily evaded. This destruction of military hardware translates directly into the destruction of geopolitical influence. The war in Ukraine is not fought just with tanks and drones. It is fought with fuel, finance, and logistics. For Russia, the entire war effort is powered by its massive oil and gas industry. In recent months, Ukraine has adopted a devastating new strategy, targeting the economic heart of the Russian war machine. Using long-range, affordable, modified drones, some flying over 1,000 kilometers, Ukraine is systematically targeting Russia's vast network of oil refineries. These strikes are meticulously planned to hit distillation columns, heat exchangers, and other non-replaceable, high-tech components. Fuel supply disruption. While Russia is a massive oil exporter, its capacity to process that oil into usable gasoline and diesel for its domestic military and transport needs has been severely curtailed. These are specialized facilities relying on Western-made parts, which are now blocked by sanctions. Repairing them is a task measured not in days, but in months or even years. Domestic market panic. The loss of refinery capacity triggers an immediate supply crunch. This has led to sharp increases in domestic fuel prices and even localized shortages across vast parts of Russia. A politically poisonous outcome that directly impacts the average citizen and undermines the Kremlin's narrative of stability. Revenue erosion. Although Russia still exports crude oil, the attacks disrupt the value chain. The economic cost is borne by Russian industry and state coffers, creating another drain on the resources needed to sustain the conflict. This is a strategy of economic asphyxiation. By focusing on logistics and infrastructure far behind the front lines, Ukraine is demonstrating that no part of Russia's industrial base is safe, forcing Moscow to divert precious scarce resources, like the remaining S-400 batteries, away from the front to protect oil infrastructure. This diversion is, in itself, a strategic victory. Ukraine is forcing Russia to choose between protecting its military front and protecting its national treasury. If there was one symbol of Putin's technological pride, it was the Kinzhal missile, one of Russia's claimed superweapons. Putin personally boasted that this air-launched hypersonic missile was invincible, impossible to intercept, and would guarantee Russia's strategic advantage for decades. It was touted as a silver bullet, designed to bypass any air defense system on Earth. The reality, thanks to Western technology, has been starkly different. When Ukraine received the American-made Patriot missile defense system, the Kinzhal missile's myth immediately collapsed. Ukrainian forces began shooting down Kinzhals over Kyiv, proving that the missile was not hypersonic enough, not stealthy enough, and certainly not invincible. Technology exposed. Russia's claim of a revolutionary military edge was revealed to be an exaggeration, severely damaging the credibility of its entire defense export market. Escalation fails. The deployment of the Kinzhal, reserved for high-value strategic targets, was intended to terrorize and force compliance. Instead, its failure boosted Ukrainian morale and gave Kyiv irrefutable proof that Western technology can defeat Russia's best. The power shift, the ability of a Patriot battery to consistently defeat Russia's most expensive and vaunted missile system, is a definitive strategic power shift. It proves that the technological future of warfare belongs not to large, expensive Russian systems, but to the integrated, advanced defenses provided by the West. The destruction of the Kinzhal's myth is the destruction of Putin's pride in Russia's status as a technological leader. The hits against the fleet, the air defense, and the economy all contribute to the final, existential crisis facing the Russian military, the manpower gap. The sheer volume of irreplaceable equipment losses, tanks, artillery, armored vehicles, is shocking. But equipment can be replaced, albeit with older, less capable substitutes. Trained personnel cannot. The destruction of Putin's pride is measured in the erosion of its professional cadre. The core of the Russian military, Its experienced sergeants, seasoned officers, and highly specialized pilots and naval crew have sustained losses that are, by all accounts, irreversible in the short term. The attempts to replenish these ranks through mass mobilization and recruitment drives are only filling the gap with less trained, older, and often reluctant soldiers. This is creating an army defined by low cohesion. New, inexperienced units lack the trust and synchronized training needed for complex offensive maneuvers. Equipment mismatch. Modern, high-tech assets are increasingly operated by crews who lack the sophisticated training to use them effectively, leading to more losses. This is not just a tactical issue, it's a strategic dead end. The professional, feared Russian military that existed prior to 2022 has been bled white. What remains is a massive, but increasingly hollow, force. Ukraine's relentless counterattacks, by forcing constant attrition on both equipment and manpower, are ensuring that the long-term quality of Russia's standing army will remain critically degraded for the better part of a decade. Ukraine has done more than just fight a defensive war. It has exposed the deep, systemic rot at the core of the Russian military, a rot born of inflated claims, technological arrogance, and political pride. The Black Sea Fleet has retreated. The elite S-400 system has been shattered. The invincible Kinzhal has been defeated. The industrial heartland is now a legitimate target. This is the new reality. Putin's pride is destroyed. The illusion of a world-class, impenetrable Russian military is gone, replaced by the grim reality of a war machine that is slow, brittle, and strategically exposed. But as Russia's conventional forces fail, the Kremlin shifts to a terrifying and financially demanding new strategy: the full militarization of its domestic economy. Click on the video on your screen now to see our deep dive analysis on how Russia is preparing for a new Cold War economy and the 3 critical ways this will reshape global finance. And before you go, tell us in the comments, which Russian military asset do you think Ukraine should target next to inflict the greatest strategic damage? Like this video and subscribe so you don't miss our weekly analysis.